Hello and welcome to the ceremony. I call this the cutting ceremony, and first victim, so to speak, is going to be lovely Velvet here. She has only been open for a week, and let's just see if we can get around. She's got at least one more bud back there. However, this is a very poor spike on this lovely girl, and I want her to focus on vegetative growth. So let me hold this steady and see if I can get in there. Actually, I'm going to cut her off camera because I have to hold and get as close as possible, and then we'll see what she looks like after. And here she is, spikeless. So what I did is I moved this leaf right here and I cut as close to the base as possible. So now, probably within about a month, hopefully, she'll start root production, but she's already started this new leaf while she was developing the spike, so that is kind of unusual for the hybrid Phalaenopsis to do. I'm going to take advantage of that, and hopefully I get at least this one and one more. And just to get a really good look at my beauty here, hold her up against the white so we can really see her under the light maybe. Isn't she just fabulous? And all of the ones I'm going to cut today, I'm going to stick them in some water and enjoy them until they go away. So let's get over to the table where I've gathered the other candidates and we'll get those cut. Okay, so we have a few more here on the table, and I am just going to start in the back here. So this is the White Clouds Mendenhall that just recently opened her blooms again about a week ago, and they are the same white blooms that I have already. So when it comes time to repot this one and the other one, I might put them in a community pot as well. But what I do, let me get my my Fiskars here, and I have put them in some alcohol just to keep from cross-contaminating, and I'm gonna get this as close to the camera so you can kind of see. But what I do is I get as close to the base without damaging the leaf or the stem, and then I snip. Oh, and she fell to the floor. Let me go get her real quick and put those back in the alcohol for right now. 1 second. She fell right here behind the camera, and we'll just get a nice pretty picture of her beautiful blooms. I mean, they're actually very nice, and she did give me 4. So the last time she bloomed for me was in 2020, and it is now 2022, so it's been a while. She's been kind of recovering, and let me cut her down just a little bit so I can get her in my cup here. There we go. I'm a little clumsy this morning, so hopefully I don't drop anyone. Let me set Miss Mendenhall off to the side. Next we have our Chains in Diamond right here, and it's funny because last week I was saying she has showing no signs of dropping any blooms, and what do you know, there they are. So we will go ahead and do the same thing. I will take the Fiskars and cut right down at as close to this as I can without doing any damage to this leaf or to the leaf and stem area. Her I will set down just because of she's a little heavy and awkward the way she's hanging. Those kind of air a little bit, and then snip. And it does hurt to cut these spikes, guys, because they are still really pretty, but as you can see, she's already working on a new leaf as well. So this is their time to work on vegetation and give me some more roots in this here pot. But as you can see, I cut her really, really close. Like I said, as close as I could without doing any damage. And I like to do this at least 1 day before watering day so that the stem area can harden off prior to me cutting, so that I don't get any pathogens or anything inside the stem to put into a lay plant. And then we have Pink Lady here, who is a large version of the lark song if you ask me, but her blooms are definitely still going nice and strong. And again, she is actually going to be really easy to cut because where her flower stem is, it is literally at the base of the orchid there. And I don't let them soak or anything in the alcohol. I just kind of put the alcohol in there, swish them around, and then cut. So let's snip her off. And there, let's say goodbye to her. Here we are. And put her in the water. Well, in the vase. I don't have the water in there quite yet. I might want to put some water in there because they're starting to lean. And then we have this poor showing of my Nerova. And totally my fault because I broke her little spike. But let me unclip her now. If you look in between the blooms there, she is trying to extend, but I am going to go ahead and cut this. So again, she can focus on, and I mean, she's strong enough. If I wanted to, I could leave it. But again, I'm being greedy. I'm wanting more leaf growth. I want way more roots inside this pot as well. And I am wanting a double spike off of this lady this year. So hoping by cutting her spike early, it gives her more nodes, because our hybrid Phalaenopsis bloom in between 2 to 3 nodes. So I want to give her enough space to bloom 2 spikes next year. So just to kind of go over this. So she bloomed here. So the next spike node possible from what we can see. Now what happened before, we don't know, but we're going to go off of this old spike here. So right now she only has 1 opportunity to give me a spike. So we have 1, 2, 3. So right now she just has an opportunity to give me a spike from here. However, if I can get 2 more leaves off of her this season, she'll have 2 spaces to produce spikes next year. So that is the goal with her. Move that one. And we're going to talk about my big girl here last. And let's see, get this one out here, Miss Kaleidoscope. And she's growing, look how wanky she's growing in her pot. Like, she was centered, but then she kind of leaned herself over, and I kind of like that. But this is her beauty here. And her first bloom is starting to go over, so it's a good time to go ahead and cut, even though she is trying to extend her spike as well. Now with this one, it's going to be a little tricky to cut her stem, because if you look, her stem and that root are right next door. So I will probably cut her right here, which is right at the tip of this little stress leaf, so as not to damage that root. So let's do that, and then I'll show you what it looks like afterward. And even though I really don't like staking my phal spikes, depending on where they sit in the house and how they're growing, like with her, this spike was kind of pulling on her too much and was getting bumped, so that's why I just put her right here. All right, Miss Kaleidoscope, you were gorgeous, and we will see you again next year, or rather later on this year. All right, we'll put that one in there, and I'll take her out of here so we can see. But if you look, her spike, let's see, that leaf is really firm, but her spike was cut right here. And I did that again because the spike and the root kind of grew out of the same joint, and I don't want to damage this root, because there is now, if you can see, a little bit of a root tip growing on there. So that means it is getting ready to get active. And she's got quite a few roots that we can see, but I'd really love to see it fill up. Really love to see it fill up. Now, I believe it was Kathleen, said that she has a white Phalaenopsis that she purchased, a hybrid, that she's had, I think, since September, that just keeps blooming. And what should she do? Should she cut the spike because it needs a repot? Leave it alone? And my advice, basically, do what works for you, okay? However, this is kind of my thought process on leaving spikes on, especially on the bigger girls. I'm gonna move the camera up just a little bit so we can kind of see real quick. But do you see how long her spike is? Look at this. So here's where it starts. Comes all the way up here. Okay, when I initially got her, the blooms started here. All of this was pretty gorgeous, right? Well, now she's dropping her older blooms that she came with, and eventually I'm just gonna have a little gaggle of blooms on the end with this big naked spike. And yes, I could get a branch off of the spike. However, she's gonna put all of her energy into all of this spike with just a handful of blooms. She's not gonna focus on growing the leaves and the roots and the vegetation that I need for her to spike again next year. So she will also be getting cut. And she is still actually in her original nursery pot with the tightly packed sphagnum here. Well, but you see how wanky she is? So now cutting the spike, she'll start putting energy into leaf growth and new root growth, at which time, once I see some new roots growing, or even if I see some of the roots that are in the pot pushing out some root tips, I will go ahead and get her repotted then. So let's get her cut. And I have my little fiskars over here off to the side. I'm going to cut where I want to cut her for the little glass vase I have over here first, and then I'm going to cut her all the way down at the bottom. Like I said, I try to get as close as I can to the base without damaging any leaves and the stem. And when I say stem, I'm talking about this portion of our girl here, the actual growth stem on the monopodial. And I am going to reposition the camera, and we will see what our little bouquet looks like that will be kind of just hanging out on my bookshelf. I say case, it's a shelf. Bookshelf until they all fade away. And then we will send out the vegetation fairies and have them come to the house and get these girls going. So here we are. This is and I'm going to cut the stems and make it look a little bit prettier, but that's kind of where we are on those. And a lot of times the blooms, when you cut them and put them in water, will last just as long. Well, maybe not just as long, but they'll last at least a month or so in just the water, depending on, you know, what else you put in there. And I do like to add just a wee bit of fertilizer in mine to kind of lengthen their time. I don't know if that works or not, but it's my theory. But this is what the girls look like after they're cutting. So they all look a little naked now. But hopefully, fingers crossed, within a month to 6 weeks, so 4 to 6 weeks, they should be showing some really active growth. As a matter of fact, Pink Lady already has this leaf that, well, she started it right as the spike was growing, so I'm hoping she kicks that back into gear and comes out, or comes out with another one. So, all right. So leave in the comments below how you encourage your hybrid Phalaenopsis to grow, and do you keep the spikes on because you like the branching throughout the year? Do you take them off, put them in a vase, or do you just throw them away? I know some people who, once they cut the blooms off, they just throw them away. So I haven't quite reached that part yet. It hurts me still to have to cut them prematurely. But at the end of the day, I think the health of the plant and them getting some more leaf growth, root growth, just getting all of that good energy added in is more beneficial than me enjoying blooms. And guys, I hope you're having as beautiful a day as I am here in Colorado, and I will see you guys on the next one.